fruits, nuts, and seeds.
Chapati, thank you for teaching us to be healthy.
The energy that I feel with these meals.
Chapati, that was really yummy.
Like a kid with new toys. Health is my greatest joy. Come and see, come and be with our host Chapati.
Hello and welcome to Food with Life. I am your host Chapati, and we're here at the wonderful seminar Renew You in Los Angeles, California. And we are very revered to have a very special guest here. He's the creator of a wonderful concept called Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus. And it is my honor to present John Gray.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to see you again.
Very nice. We have seen these some time back.
We go back a long way.
So, relationships are it's the essence of many people. So I'm wondering, in a marriage or in a relationship, what is the one most important thing?
Commitment.
Commitment.
Every in the workplace, we don't question when things are difficult. We take 100% responsibility to do something about it.
Right.
Oh, this isn't working. What can I do to make it work?
Right.
If I need guidance, support, I'll read a book, I'll go do something. We take 100% accountability, at least those people who are successful.
Right.
But when it comes to marriage, people think that when there's a problem, it's always the other person's fault. And part of commitment is committing to find the love in your heart again and again and again. And one of the biggest obstacles to feeling that love is to feel that somebody is responsible for your unhappiness. How can you love someone who's punishing you or hurting you, criticizing you, bringing you down, ignoring you, neglecting you? So we keep making someone else responsible for our happiness rather than recognize what we can do in a relationship. It's not about finding someone to make us happy. It's about finding happiness in our lives and then finding someone to share that happiness. And what allows me to experience greater happiness than I could alone is feeling that I have made my partner happy. But that's an illusion, because I can't make her happy, but I can make her happier. And that's the whole distinction. So when my wife's not happy someday, I just have compassion for her. How can I help you? But I don't take it personally.
Right.
Because I realize it's her job. And I'm not going to say, well, honey, that's your fault. I wouldn't do that. But it's coming from a place of recognition that we're all responsible for our happiness. But in a relationship, our commitment is to do our best to share our happiness with somebody else. And when we don't have it, find a way to find it again, and then share that with them.
Share it. It's so true. I feel, for example, today with my wife, she was going through some things with her family, her parents, and she said some things to me, and I reacted in not a great way, and she reacted even more, and so it got a little out of balance, and she went off into a room to stay by herself, and she wasn't doing happy. So I thought, this is the time to comfort her. So I went to her, totally pushed all that stuff away with my heart.
Beautiful.
And it's a similar thing. She completely changed completely. I didn't even have to say a word. You could see the heart opening, and you could see what you might say a lotus flower completely wrapping around her.
And I think we all want to be able to do that. We just don't know how to do it. That's why it's so important for people to recognize one of the things we have to learn in life is how to have relationships.
Right.
The things we saw our parents do don't necessarily work today. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And one of the aspects of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus is talking about the differences between men and women. And there's male energy, masculine energy. There's feminine energy. And in the past, it used to be real clear cut. Men were more like this, women were more like this.
Right.
But as consciousness rises, we become more whole beings. Then we're able to access both feminine energy and masculine energy. We have access to that. But our physiology is still male and female.
Yes.
So we have to respect the physiology as we rise in consciousness and find the polarity within ourselves, which is why we're drawn to loving relationships. So in finding that inside, which is this big surge in consciousness in the last 40 years in America and around the world, and what happens is now it's easier for women to access their masculine energy. So they're saying, I want career, I want job, I want this. It's easier for men to access feminine energy. So men are saying, I don't want to burn out at work. I don't want to go work in a coal mine. You know, I want vacations. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to spend time with my family. These are more the feminine side of the enjoyment in life. So as men rise in consciousness, our challenge is not to go too far to the feminine, and the challenge for women is not to go too far to the masculine. And that's what's happening today. What you see is women's stress levels are just off the chart.
Yes.
Because they're too masculine.
Right.
And it's wrong for me to say too masculine. They haven't balanced their masculine energy to their feminine energy. And that's what I do, is help them find that balance.
We're going to talk a bit about more. Okay, 1 second more. We'll jump into it. Stay with us. We're with our wonderful guest, John Gray. I am your host, Chapati. This is Food with Life. We'll be right back. Tell me what you were continuing to say about women getting more masculine, men getting more feminine.
Well, these are energies within us, and we
Yes.
all have them.
Yes.
And generally speaking, what's happening today, if they've done big tests on stress levels, women's stress levels in the workplace, which is more masculine energy, which has to do with urgency, emergency, sacrifice, working for money. The feminine world has to do with nurturing, friendship, caring, family, supportive. And we all have both sides.
Well, what about a workplace that's different? You know, where there's like maybe a hospital where it's more, just more gentle, easy care for people.
Well, actually, if you interview women who work in hospitals, they'll say it's very stressful.
Right. Okay. But
It's-
are there any feminine types of working situations?
Well, no, there's definitely environments where women are dominant, like in the healthcare environment, more and more women, because it is a nurturing environment, so they're moving towards that place. If you go into high tech, there's many less women there. If you go into high finance, there's many less women
Yes.
there. So you get these areas where we're going to be drawn to. But the workplace itself, because it has to do with doing things that you don't necessarily want to do all the time. They're not having to do with people you care about and you love and you know, and you're doing it primarily for money. That stimulates the male hormone, testosterone, which for men is great. Testosterone, men need to make 30 times more testosterone than a woman. Otherwise you have a heart attack.
Right.
So this is the whole idea for men, is you have to be in a work environment that stimulates testosterone. Then you have to be able to relax from that, which is part of the whole journey of meditation, which is to rebuild your testosterone. You know, in India, primarily men did the meditation, because meditation is, once I've been solving problems, now I need to forget them
Withdraw.
and withdraw for a while, and then come back out to your family. So that's a dynamic that I talk about in Men Are From Mars, is men have this cave. They go to work, they go to their cave. When they come out of their cave, they're really ready to connect.
Right.
And women don't understand that, because their need for the cave is less, because it's a different hormone that regulates women's stress level. But when women are making testosterone, mostly in the workplace, they're not making enough oxytocin. Oxytocin is now this hormone that has to do with breastfeeding, climax, has to do with giving birth to babies. Men have oxytocin, we just don't run out of it. Women are running out of it all the time. And if they don't have enough time in their lives to do what they enjoy doing, what they like to do, which is nurturing, which is not for money, those types of activities will stimulate oxytocin to keep her stress levels down, so she can also begin expressing her masculine energy. So what I do is help couples, if you're in a relationship, understand that what women are going through, how men can help, and what women can do for themselves.
Right, right. This
Yeah.
is a big dilemma. Putting a problem or a situation in a relationship on the other person.
Yes, that's the...
And not realizing that life is around you, as I see it, around you is a holographic mirror.
You're absolutely right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Everything that you do in life, what they do, and there's nothing to do with them. It's all from inside.
It's all a reflection of what's going on inside.
Exactly.
And that's a very high message. When I'm counseling couples, my first thing is particularly to hear what's going on. That's at a lower level. So we start to see that everything in our lives we have contributed to, other people have contributed to, but if I want to change my life, I don't need to change you. I need to see how I contributed to this problem and make that change within myself.
Right, right. It's all in here. You know,
Yeah.
it's all important.
Power's inside. Power's inside.
And you see, I see all the world when I read everything in the papers and the news. You know, it's all object referral, as one might say it. Everything is, as it refers to being subjective. about
Very
people.
nicely put. Yes.
You
yeah.
know?
We're always looking out there as the problem, and there are problems out there. It's very important that other people do create problems for us,
Right.
but we have to recognize, how do we contribute to that?
Right.
How does our attitude contribute to it? How does our thinking contribute to our actions? All those things
Right.
it's such a vast resource. And for me, one of the really great things about relationships, as well as anybody who's single even, is notice whenever you have resistance to something. Whenever you're experiencing some of those negative emotions or just uncomfortable and resistance, our tendency is to go, oh, this, as opposed to, oh, how can I go around this? How can I move with this? Why am I resisting this person so much? And it's always something out there that we're not willing to look at within ourselves.
I'm going to talk about that in a second, okay?
Sure.
I am Yosh Tripathi. We'll be right back with our wonderful guest, John Gray. Stay with us. This is Food with Life. So we were talking a bit about resisting.
Yes.
Resisting. You're seeing something outside you, and you don't feel comfortable with it. You don't like what's going on, whatever it might be, and it's causing some difficulty. Tell me a bit about resistance.
Well, it's a big subject, but let's look
Yes.
right at marriage,
Right.
male-female relationship particularly. We can look at that one. And so generally there's resistance that will start to build up in a relationship. I don't like this. This is annoying to me. He's doing this.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest, if we make broad strokes here, often women think men are too self-absorbed, they're too selfish, they think about themselves, and women start to resist that. Then they start to resent that. Then they start to reject him for that. And it's a process of getting worse and worse. And that just general theme, and the reason they resist it is it's a very masculine quality. Just think, okay, I have to keep myself safe so I can go save everybody else. This is the basic nature of men, is I have to be thinking about me at times of danger, but why am I in danger? So I can help everybody else and protect them.
Right.
So it's not a
Yeah.
narcissism, it's
Yeah.
just men have an easy time thinking about themselves. And so what women, they have a difficult time thinking about themselves. They have female energy, just wants to nurture others, and then they kind of expect others to nurture them back. So I'm going to give freely and give freely. And the truth is, when a woman gives unconditionally, without any expectation of result or any, just giving her heart, she releases the most oxytocin, which is a stress-reducing hormone. So when she sees a baby, huge glow on her face,
Yes.
oxytocin surges in her body, because baby can't do anything for you, but you don't expect anything from it, so you can freely give to a child. So anyway, so she has this selflessness. So when she sees what she could call selfishness, she resists it, because she's resisting that part of herself. It's the number one complaint women have, is I give, and there's nothing left for me. Nobody gives to me. But
Right.
women often discount themselves. They overgive
Right.
and don't create the time for themselves to do what they enjoy.
And then they're wiped out.
And they're wiped out, and they're
Exhausted.
exhausted.
Right.
And one of the differences for fun is that this is a physiological difference. When women are tired, they keep going.
Right.
Most men, when they're tired, they stop.
They stop.
And that's another thing women resist.
Right.
How can you not do this and this and this?
Right.
Because I'm done for the day.
I know,
And she's like, why do you get to do that and I don't? I said, I'm not stopping you. Go ahead.
I know what you're saying. I was at home just yesterday, and I was exhausted. My wife said, I'm having someone come on Monday. We have to have this and this cleared, everything developed. And I said, honey, I'm doing it for you. I can't do anymore.
That's it. A man knows his limit. Whereas women, when they're exhausted and tired, their brain just keeps going on and on. They literally don't have an off switch in their
Right.
brain. And, they found it in the brain science, which is men do have an off switch and women don't.
Right.
It goes on and on and on. For
Right.
example, if a woman's annoyed or bothered by something,
Right.
if she doesn't get nurturing, it will just keep going around and around and around. Whereas for a guy, I can forget it. Particularly, the ancient cultures would nurture this ability in men,
Right.
which is what part of what meditation is learning to let go of all the problems,
Right.
reconnect with yourself.
Right.
For women, when I go to India, women will say, oh, I can't do meditation or whatever. And historically, women were not the big meditators, but they were in service. Because when women are constantly moving, what happens is it releases this hormone, oxytocin,
Right.
which lowers her stress and creates her heart opening. And she has that level of enlightenment, which is the enlightenment of the heart.
Right. Now, how does dopamine play into this here?
Dopamine has a huge effect. Dopamine is attention, focus, pleasure, motivation, all those things. And men run out of dopamine before women do. That's why a man can come home and sit and go, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
And the woman's brain actually is having too much dopamine.
Yes.
I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. the man runs out of dopamine, but he has plenty of serotonin.
Right.
And serotonin is the counterbalance.
Right.
Dopamine is the accelerator, serotonin is the brakes. So basically, a man comes home, men can make serotonin twice as fast as women.
Right.
We store twice as much, and he'll come home from work, he's run out of dopamine, so there's no motivation, and serotonin is plenty, which gives you optimism. And she says, we've got all these problems, and he says, don't worry about it, we'll do it tomorrow. And she, on the other hand, has had this high dopamine level, which
Right.
motivates her, keeps her motivated,
Right.
but she runs out of serotonin 8 times faster than a man. 8 times faster. This is why women are so much more stressed today, is that when a woman has a stress reaction, it's different from a man's, and this is all measurable. She will tend to have a stress reaction to small things. Men tend to have a stress reaction to big things.
Right.
And when she has a stress reaction to small things, there's 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of her brain. And that then releases serotonin to calm that part of the brain.
Right, right.
But see, when women are doing this masculine stuff all day long,
Yeah.
there's emergencies, urgencies, stress, traffic, decision making. Every time we make a decision, it's a stress.
Right.
But it's a bigger stress on women. They've measured the stresses. So what happens is she runs out of serotonin, but she has more dopamine. So her brain, when she comes home from work, it doesn't turn off. It's, I have this to do and this to do, this to do, and I have to do it now. It has to all be done now. There's a sense of emergency that goes with it. So it's the world today is harder on women than men.
I want you to tell me more about this emergency, okay? In a second. I am your host, Chapati, with our wonderful guest, Don Gray. We'll be right back. This is Food with Life. Please stay with us. We were talking a little bit about withdrawing, before, about the men going into the cave and then coming out.
That's one of the most positive responses I got on the book Men Are From Mars. Women come up to me still 20 years later. Thank you so much for teaching me about the cave. Because what I explain is that men have a greater tendency at the end of the day to want to withdraw and pull into themselves. And literally, women go, what just happened? I thought we were in this marriage. And he's like, he doesn't even see me. And it's a tendency that men have to recover from stress. And we've done research on this, and what we've seen is that when men basically forget the work, they're able to rebuild their testosterone. That's part of the whole thing of rebuilding testosterone. If you're thinking about problems, then a man's going to be solving them in his head or taking action. That's using up testosterone. But by the end of the day, he literally can use up all his testosterone. And he needs to rebuild.
Right.
So the brain has a switch for a man to turn off the brain so he can sort of relax. And when he's sitting, basically his body is rebuilding testosterone.
Right.
Now women, they don't need to rebuild testosterone, generally speaking.
Right.
Men have to have higher levels of it. So she doesn't have a reference point.
Right.
What she has, what the men don't understand, is for women, they have an emotional response to things that most men don't. Because when a woman can talk about anything which is causing frustration, disappointment, or her concerns, when she can talk about those things, it releases the hormone oxytocin that allows her to lower her stress, and if somebody's listening to her, it rebuilds her oxytocin.
Right, right.
So women will often at the end of the day want to talk and share, and a guy wants to withdraw, no talking. And so that can create a huge conflict unless we understand it in a positive way.
So that's interesting when you say someone's listening to her, rather than not listening to her.
Yeah, that's why women's biggest complaint is men don't listen.
But it's the oxytocin which is produced. If someone's not listening to her, is it produced?
No.
Right.
No.
But so there's something going on between her and this other
It's
person.
relationship. It's
Relationship which
relationships.
makes that produced.
Yeah. It's when women feel like they care about you, when they're doing things for others,
Yeah.
it releases the oxytocin and lowers their stress, but then they run out of oxytocin. They have to feel somebody cares about
Right.
them.
That's
So
it.
it's in the sharing of what's inside. It's literally a form of being vulnerable and opening up. And if you're attentive, your interest and caring comes in, and she goes, oh, I'm not alone. And it's a paradox for men, because how can she feel better? She just talked about 10 problems, and we didn't do anything to solve them. It just seems like, why are we wasting time?
Right.
But by understanding women in this new light, men can go, okay, I have to remind yourself, all right, what she needs to do is just talk
Right.
about this. I don't have to say anything. I don't need to tell her she's wrong. I don't need to talk her out of this. This is her process. Let me be compassionate. When a man goes, I want to understand that why, so I
Right.
can do something about it.
Right,
For men,
right.
everything's about doing something
Right.
about it. But for a woman, just understanding her softens her mood, makes her feel better, makes her feel she's not alone, releases this hormone. And the irony here is, in understanding brings empathy.
Right.
Empathy is the real critical thing. And men don't have a concept of empathy, because when we're listening to her, we think to empathize with her means I have to agree with her.
Right.
It doesn't mean agreement.
Right.
Agreement is left brain. Empathy is right brain.
Yes.
So what you do is you try to put yourself in her shoes.
Mhm.
You try to imagine, if I thought the way she did, if I had the hormone system that
Right.
she has, if I was designed the way
Right,
she was,
right.
I would feel the same way.
Right.
That's empathy.
Right.
But until men understand how women are different and how their experience of life is different and how they see
Right,
the world
right.
differently, how they're designed differently, you can't really have empathy.
Yes, yes. How would you put the word appreciation here? Where would you put that?
Well, you know, one of my books is called Work With Me, and in that book we did a big survey of 100,000 men and women. And the number one complaint women had is they didn't feel appreciated in the
Right,
workplace.
right.
And of course the guys are going, of course we appreciate the women. 90% of men said we appreciate women.
Right.
You know, more than half of the women said I don't feel appreciated at all.
Right, right.
And you go, why? So this is where men don't know how to communicate appreciation to women, and women don't know how to communicate appreciation to
Ah.
men. Here's a test any woman can do and just see the power of appreciation with her husband or boyfriend. When he's talking, when he pauses, instead of saying anything, just say, huh, that makes sense. Watch how he'll puff up and go, what did I say?
Right.
The next one is, good idea. Men love it, men love it. Another one is, you're right.
Right.
Those things build testosterone in men. Now, turn it around. A woman is doing something, may I help you? Oh, tell me more. I really want to understand this. I need to understand it more. Tell me more. These kind of messages to draw her in that say, I see you, I'm available to you, that's what rebuilds the oxytocin in women.
That's wonderful. We're going to take a break and say thank you.
Real pleasure.
But
Real
we will
pleasure.
see you again.
Okay.
And I'm so blessed to have you, and our honor, Mr. John Gray, wonderful author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, has a wonderful website, marsvenus.com. And we thank you very much for watching Food with Life. We'll see you very soon. Have a nice day, a nice evening, and enjoy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds.